In this short video, we will discuss the receipt of a payment. We will discuss the source document, the effect on the accounting equation, as well as the recording of the transaction. The transaction that forms the basis of our discussion will be a debtor, Mr. A. South, who made a cash payment of 10,000 Rand in full settlement of his outstanding account. The source document issued by the seller for the money received is a receipt. The receipt is a written acknowledgement that the seller received payment from the buyer of the goods. In our example, the goods were initially sold on credit, and now, at a later date, the debtor, or in other words, the buyer, is settling his debt towards the seller. After the business issued the receipt for the money it received, it must now start recording the transaction. The first step when dealing with a transaction is to identify the affected accounts. In our example, the business received cash. The first affected account is bank. The cash was received from a debtor settling his account. The second account affected is therefore accounts receivable. The bank account will increase with the cash amount received. On the other hand, the accounts receivable account will decrease because the debtor will now owe the business less money. Both bank and accounts receivable are classified under assets. The rule for assets is that these accounts increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. In our example, the bank account will therefore increase on the debit side, and the accounts receivable account will decrease on the credit side. On the basic accounting equation, assets will therefore increase and decrease with 10,000 Rand. Bank is an asset and increases. The effect of this transaction will be that the bank account is debited. Accounts receivable is also an asset and decreases and will therefore be credited. On receipt of the money, the business issued a receipt as proof of the transaction. In our example, the original receipt is handed to Mr. A. South, the debtor, as acknowledgement that the money was received. The business, or the seller, keeps a copy of the receipt, referred to as the duplicate receipt. The information on the duplicate receipt is used to record the transaction in the cash receipts journal of the business. To record the transaction in the cash receipts journal, in the details column you need to indicate that you received money from a debtor, as well as the name of the debtor. The reason for providing the name of the debtor is that the transaction will also have an effect on the individual debtor's account in the debtor's ledger. 10,000 Rand will be recorded in the accounts receivable column as well as in the bank column. At month end, the balance of the subsidiary journals are posted to the general ledger. In our example, the 10,000 Rand recorded in the bank column of the cash receipts journal will be posted to the debit side of the bank account in the general ledger. This is the same as the effect of the transaction on the accounting equation. The 10,000 Rand recorded in the accounts receivable column in the cash receipts journal will be posted to the credit side of the accounts receivable control account in the general ledger.